What up, what up, what up, everybody? It's your boy, Cardinal Red, and we're back for another one. Alright, y'all, so today's topic, what am I going to call this one? Today's topic is going to be Bob Arum says Manny Pacquiao is a diminished fighter after Ugas. Alright, so Bob Arum recently did an interview regarding Manny Pacquiao's last fight, his last performance versus Ugas, and he had a lot of stuff to say about Pacquiao. Where do I start? You know, Bob Arum and Manny Pacquiao have a very, I guess, a love-hate relationship at this point. You know, Manny Pacquiao made Bob Arum a lot of money. But it seems like Bob Arum, ever since the Mayweather fight, has headed out for Manny Pacquiao. And what I mean by headed out, he's just been trying his best to get rid of Pacquiao. I don't know why, he would want to get rid of Pacquiao, because Pacquiao made him like a super millionaire. You know, there was so much fanfare around Manny Pacquiao when Bob Arum got him, and there was so much hype built around the Pac-Man train. You know, Team Pacquiao, Pac-Tards. You know, once they got a whiff of what Pacquiao had to offer, it was no turning back from that point. And you would think Bob Arum would be super duper grateful to have had a fighter like that, and he would never speak ill on him, and he would have tried to hold on to him as long as he could. But it wasn't what happened in the end of Pacquiao and Bob Arum's working relationship. I'm not sure if they still conversate, but they don't work with each other anymore. And it seems like once Bob Arum got Crawford, he knew he no longer needed Pacquiao. So he put him in situations perhaps where he felt like he would lose because of maybe lack of preparation, not knowing the fighter, um, making fights Manny didn't want, and just all around trying to set him up to get him out of the way. So we all know what happened. Jeff Horn situation. Pacquiao got the title taken away. He ended up leaving Bob. Ended up over at PBC, and it almost seems like it's the same scenario now going on with Pacquiao, Earl Spence, and Al Heyman, where they're trying to kind of get Pacquiao out of the way of him having to fight Earl Spence Jr. You know, Spence Jr. has come up with this eye thing. It instead of delaying the fight, they called the fight completely off. Put Ugas in his place. Pacquiao had a lot of obstacles to break through to, make that fight a perfect fight. Unfortunately for him, he was battling cramps. He was battling a 10-minute warm up. He was battling a 2-week notification for the fight, and it just didn't turn out great, and it didn't turn out well on his behalf. And now Bob Arum has come out and saying that Pacquiao is a diminished fighter because of the Ugas performance. And, he goes straight into saying that Pacquiao looked old, kind of like he knew Pacquiao was old. He's past his prime. He should have been done. He said some things like, if Terrence Crawford would have if Terrence Crawford would have fought him, he would have beat him even worse than what you guys did. And if Spence would have fought him, he would have beat him basically to death. And it's almost laughable at this point, because a lot of people message me and say, well, why didn't Pacquiao fight Crawford when he was on Top Rank? Why didn't he take his shot when he was on Top Rank? Pacquiao blocked the fight. And I'm like, how could Pacquiao block the fight when Bob Arum is the promoter? And what promoter in the history of boxing wouldn't want to make upwards of $100 million in-house to make an in-house fight? You know what I'm saying? And then the next thing that they say, I won't call it an excuse, but the next thing that they bring up is that Bob Arum and Crawford felt like they didn't want to hurt Pacquiao, which is almost comical because it's like, when have you ever seen, ever seen a promoter cry over a fighter that he has in his stable beating another fighter who he has in the stable, who has a bigger name and is making this new fighter even more famous, and they're both about to make a lot of money in the process. Plus, the old fighter is now out of the way. It's a whole fairy tale story you would think any promoter would want and would want to put on, but for some reason it didn't happen when they both were at top rank. And now it's like every chance Bob Arum gets, he's trying to degrade Pacquiao, say something negative toward Pacquiao. I think because he knows he messed up by not putting that fight on when he had the opportunity. Because now the only super fights that he can make, he has to split the purse with Al Heyman. And Al Heyman only, because the only other super fights at welterweight out there to be made are all to be made through PBC boxing. Top Rank has one worthy welterweight. Teofimo might move up, but Teofimo might not even be messing with Bob Arum no more. So we don't even know. They got one credible welterweight. That's Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford got his belt from Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn and the Australians robbed Manny Pacquiao of his belt. In my mind, Terence Crawford should not even be a champion. And in my thoughts, I know a lot of people like Crawford. He's a good fighter. I really have nothing personally against Terence Crawford. My problem is the way he became a champion. I don't see him as a true champion because he didn't beat a worthy opponent or someone who earned the belt to become champion. Some people are going to say, well, Jeff Horn beat Pacquiao. We all know Pacquiao won that fight. Whether the record books say he won or say he lost, Pacquiao beat Jeff Horn. They took the belt from him. And it made Terence Crawford a champion. And in my eyes, he doesn't deserve to be a champion yet. Not to say he's not a championship caliber fighter. He just doesn't deserve it yet to me because he didn't earn it from a championship caliber fighter. This is why his resume is so terrible. You would think he would have became champion by beating a caliber opponent. A Thurman, a Spence, a Porter, uh, uh, um, Pacquiao, Mayweather. Any of these guys who were former champions are past champions. Tim Bradley. Anybody, but he doesn't really have those type of names on his resume. His most credible win is Kell Brook, and him and Earl Spence kind of tossed Kell Brook up. But Kell Brook was already a flawed fighter at that point. So his only other worthy name, I think is Benavidez. I think that's his only other. Spence, on the other hand, has a slightly more credible resume, but nowhere near the resume of Manny Pacquiao. So you would think, in your best logic, it would have been in both of these promoters' best interest to make a fight with Manny Pacquiao. Either Al Heyman making Pacquiao Spence or Bob Arum making Pacquiao Crawford. And neither one of these fights happened. In Terence Crawford's case, Bob Arum blocked the fight when they both were there. Bob Arum just blocked the fight again by not signing the contract. Earl Spence's case, he had the fight. We were 2 weeks away. An eye injury comes up. Somehow Spence doesn't have to fight Pacquiao. Pacquiao gets beat by Jordanius Ugas. Now Spence is like, hey, I want nothing to do with Manny Pacquiao. Why? He's not a champion. And you guys, a second-tier fighter, beat him. So what's the point of fighting Manny Pacquiao? And my thing is this. You know what? I feel like it's, for a lack of a better word, in the best interest of boxing promoters, boxing news sources, boxing cable sources. It's all in these people's best interest to get Manny Pacquiao out of the way for two reasons. One of those reasons is he's a very dangerous fight. A healthy, fully prepared Manny Pacquiao is a very dangerous fight for you guys, but not only you guys if he gets the rematch, but for Earl Spence and for Terrence Crawford. There's a chance they might not beat Pacquiao. And this is what Bob Arum fears, and this is what Al Heyman fears, and this is what the people whose money backs both of those guys fear. The cable channels who back both of those guys. This is what they fear. And it's in their best interest to get Pacquiao out of the way for another reason, and that is Pacquiao commands a very high dollar to appear. And if they want to continue paying Pacquiao his very high dollar to appear, or they can go with half the price for Earl Spence or Terrence Crawford. What's the point of paying Pacquiao when you got Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford? But the problem is, if Pacquiao's still standing in the middle of these two guys, everybody's going to be looking to both of them because they're not fighting each other. Like, well, why don't you just fight Pacquiao? You can make a lot of money if you fight Pacquiao. And if Pacquiao beats one of these guys, it throws that whole dynamic of those two guys ever getting together and fighting and making a new history for boxing null and void. It's not going to happen the way people want it to happen if Pacquiao was to defeat one of these guys. And I think what got the ball rolling was the fact Pacquiao actually came back and took that belt from Matisse. Nobody expected him to become a champion again. And it threw a dynamic in there to where Pacquiao was in play for everything. He got the regular title. He went in, he beat Adrian Broner. Then he went in and got the super title from Keith Thurman. And that really threw a monkey wrench in everybody's plans because they're like, well, if he just beat our super champion, he could probably beat our big dog, Earl Spence, who is, just as good or maybe slightly better than Keith Thurman. And I think Bob Arum feels the same way. And it's just sad that Bob Arum, I would hope that Pacquiao, if he doesn't get the Ugas fight but decides to come back, because there's a situation going on with Ugas and Jamal James, and they're supposed to be trying to put that fight together. But if that fight doesn't happen and he gets the Ugas rematch, I would hope Pacquiao either gets a fight with Crawford or Spence. I don't mind either one of them. But if Pacquiao decides to say, hey, I beat Diminished, Ugas, I'm a champion again, I'm a retired champion, I would be okay with that too. But I would love to see Pacquiao as an independent promoter go up against Bob Arum and Terrence Crawford, or Pacquiao as an independent promoter, MP Promotion, go up against Earl Spence and PBC Boxing. Let me know what y'all think about that. Is Bob Arum right? Pacquiao diminished fighter? Hit that like button for me. Please subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell your auntie, uncle, cousin, nieces, nephews, whatever, man. It's your boy Carton the Red, man. We back in the red room, bro. I'll be dropping a lot of content. So continue to hit that button, man. Click on them thumbnails for me, man. It's your boy, and we are out of here. I'm gonna jam out for a second, man. Let's play this music. I'm thinking, come home with me. It's been a while since I've had some. Alright, y'all, we out of here.